Paris, known as the City of Lights, is a symbol of love and beauty. But for Sophie Duval, its bright streets, cozy cafes, and famous sights reminded her of the tangled lies she had told in the last few months. Sophie sat at a nicely arranged table in Label EPO, one of Paris's best restaurants, with her lover, Lucas Bon. The air was filled with the smell of good food and the sound of clinking wine glasses. But Sophie couldn't shake the anxiety that was gripping her. At 35, Sophie was everything a man could want: bright, smart, and classy. She grew up in Lyon and moved to Paris in her mid-20s after marrying Alexandre Duval, who had been the love of her life. Alexandre, 3 years older, was a famous architect known for his innovative designs that blended modern and historic styles. Their love story had been quick and intense. They met at a cafe by the Seine River, where Alexandra started a conversation about architecture, a passion they both shared. This led to a relationship and, soon after, a seemingly perfect marriage. They were viewed as the ideal couple in Paris, charming and successful, living in a beautiful apartment with a view of the river. Their life looked amazing, filled with trips to the south of France, weekends with smart friends, and fancy parties in their home, decorated with Alexandra's models. But beneath this shiny surface, Sophie felt restless. The excitement and passion that once filled their relationship had faded into a boring routine, weighed down by Alexandra's job and their public image. Then came Lucas Bon. At 42, he was a businessman with a rugged charm that didn't fit the corporate world. He had a natural magnetism. He could walk into any room and draw attention. With his strong jaw, striking blue eyes, and fit body, he turned heads wherever he went. Sophie met him at a gallery opening, introduced by a mutual friend. From the moment Lucas kissed her hand, something sparked inside her. He was so different from Alexandra, daring, spontaneous, and thrilling. Their flirtation began innocently, with light conversations over champagne and fun exchanges at events. But it quickly grew deeper. Sophie found herself longing for Lucas, craving the excitement he brought into her life. One evening, after too much wine and many glances, their flirtation turned into an affair. The guilt nagged at Sophie, but with Lucas, she felt truly alive, as if she had found a part of herself hidden under the weight of her marriage. So the affair went on for months. Sophie balanced her life as Alexandra's devoted wife with her passionate encounters with Lucas. She knew it was wrong, but the thrill was intoxicating. Alexandra, always busy with work, seemed too distracted to notice. Or so she thought. Tonight, as Sophie sat across from Lucas at Label EPO, something felt different. The evening started as it always did, playful banter over fine wine and delicious food. Lucas was cheerful, talking about his latest business project, but Sophie felt an unusual tension in the air. "Why are you so quiet tonight, Sophie? Everything okay?" he asked, lightly touching her hand. Sophie forced a smile and said, "I'm fine, just thinking about life," her voice trailing off as she looked out the window. The streets of Paris were busy with evening life, but instead of comfort, Sophie felt exposed, like the walls were closing in. Lucas raised an eyebrow, but before he could ask more, Sophie's phone buzzed beside her wine glass. She looked at the screen, expecting a message from a friend, but the name that appeared made her heart race. It was a message from Alexandra. Her fingers shook as she unlocked her phone, her heart pounding. The message was short, but shocking. "Enjoy the wine, Sophie. I hope it tastes better than betrayal." Her face went pale, and she felt breathless as disbelief washed over her. How did he know? Panic rose in her chest as she felt Lucas watching her, but she couldn't look at him. "Everything okay?" Lucas asked, his tone changing from playful to serious. Sophie quickly turned her phone face down, hiding the message. She forced a smile but felt her mind racing. "It's nothing," she lied, though her voice betrayed her anxiety. Lucas didn't push, but she knew he wasn't convinced. She tried to focus on the conversation and dinner, anything but the message. But then, her phone buzzed again, the sound cutting through the restaurant noise. She didn't want to look, didn't want to see what Alexandra had sent next. But her hand moved on its own, unlocking the phone again. Another message awaited her. You always said you loved French food. I wonder if you'll enjoy it when your life falls apart. Look around, Sophie. Do you feel safe? Her throat tightened. She looked around the restaurant, scanning the faces of other diners. Was Alexandra watching them? The thought made her shiver. Lucas noticed her growing worry. Sophie, what's wrong? You're acting strange. I need to go, she whispered, barely audible as she pushed her chair back. Lucas frowned, confusion on his face. What? Why? What's happening? Sophie stood, her legs shaky. She couldn't explain to Lucas how her world was falling apart, how Alexandra, the man she thought she had tricked, knew everything. Just then, her phone buzzed again. She knew she should ignore it, but she felt compelled to look. The message made her stomach drop. By the time you get home, I'll be gone, and so will the life you've been living. Consider this your last meal as Mrs. Duval. Tears filled Sophie's eyes as Alexandra's words sank in. He wasn't joking. He knew about the affair and was leaving her. The reality hit hard. She had lost Alexandra, lost everything. Lucas stood up, worried by her sudden change in mood. Sophie, talk to me. What's going on? But Sophie couldn't respond. Fear and regret choked her. Without another word, she turned and rushed out of the restaurant, her heels clicking on the marble floor as she stepped into the cool night. The streets of Paris were quieter now. The crowds had thinned. Sophie walked quickly down the cobblestone streets, her mind racing with emotions. She couldn't go home, couldn't face the empty apartment or the truth of what she had done. She had betrayed the man who had given her everything, and now she was left with nothing. Wandering through the city, her tears blurred the glowing lights of street lamps and shops. Memories of her life with Alexandra flooded her mind. Their wedding day, their trips together, the quiet mornings together. How had it all gone so wrong? Sophie had always thought she could have it all. Love Alexandra, and have her affair with Lucas, without consequences. But now, she realized how naive she had been. She had taken Alexandra's love for granted, believing he would never find out or leave her. But now, she was alone. And the worst part was that she had no one to blame but herself. Standing at the edge of the Seine, she looked out at the dark waters reflecting the city lights. The calm river felt like a mockery of her turmoil. What had once felt like a fairy tale in Paris now seemed empty and unforgiving. Her phone buzzed again, breaking the silence. Hesitant, she looked at it, her heart sinking as she read Alexandra's final message. Goodbye, Sophie. I hope you find what you're looking for, but you won't find it with him or in the life you've been living. One day, I hope you understand what you've lost. And with that, it was over. Alexandra was gone.